started. Transcript's coming up now. There we go. All right, so thank you all for joining us today. We're going to kind of go over the Blackboard AI Design Assistant to hopefully help you in transitioning your courses from Blackboard Original to Ultra, and just saving you a little bit of time in your creation of your materials, and just thinking about different ways that you can add different pieces of content, different assessments inside of your course. Again, to kind of help you in sort of, looking at your teaching strategies and how you want to work with students, and just saving you a little bit of time, in general, as far as to what you're creating, and being able to provide the best possible solutions to students as far as different types of assessments, and being able to grade their assessments, just based off the expectations that you provide to them. Most of you probably know me well enough to know that I am not one that likes to present from a PowerPoint all the time. So most of this will be more demo, but I do have some PowerPoint slides to kind of go over first, just to give you an idea as to what the AI Design Assistant is, what it's about, what you can do with it. And then I'm going to go directly into a course in Blackboard, show you some of the different steps, show you exactly what it can do for you, and how it can save you some time as you are building your courses. Feel free to jump in at any point if you have any questions. I'm going to try and monitor the chat as well, so feel free to post any questions there. And so let's learn a little bit more about the AI Design Assistant. So this was launched officially with Blackboard sometime in the fall 2023 semester. They kept it in a beta status up until sometime during the spring semester. Therefore, we did not actually launch it in our environment to sometime spring of 2024, when basically Blackboard said, okay, it's here. We've done our testing. We've got it going. Now we want to launch it. They are still planning to do continuous improvements to it, potentially adding more functionality down the road. But at least from my perspective, I think they've got a solid tool here to really help you out. A lot of different options, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what it's about, and hopefully they'll have some more down the road. So I know a lot of things that we think about when we first hear the term AI these days. We immediately think, oh Lord, it's another way for students to cheat, or oh no, my information is out there, what am I doing? So these are some principles set forth by Blackboard that they pretty much go by, that they've set with what they do with AI. So I wanted to share these with you to make you aware that when you're thinking about AI inside of Blackboard, these are the guiding principles that they're using when they were building this tool, working with Microsoft to get it built, and just thinking about the output that it places inside of Blackboard, thinking about how it is going to help you help your students. So I won't read everything here, but just kind of give you an idea. So they do look at fairness. They want to think about reliability. Ultimately, they're going to allow you to really go in and revise any content that you see generated by the AI tool. You are still ultimately the driving force behind the content that is placed inside of your courses from the Design Assistant. They do also take the transparency, the explainability. They want to make sure everything is there to show you how it works. They want to make sure that privacy is taken into consideration. So these are just some of the guiding principles that are used all along the way with anything related to Blackboard and Anthology, and particularly with anything related to the AI Design Assistant. Hopefully that alleviates a little bit of stress, because I know there are some that as soon as they see it, it's an immediate, you're trying to think, wait a minute, how is this secure? What's going on? So I just want to share those with you to know that that is at the front of the line when it comes to anything Blackboard and Anthology is taken care of. They do want to make sure that they do have those sort of trustworthy principles out there to let everyone know that that's always in their minds when they are creating those. So a little bit about the background of it and how it works. It is powered by Microsoft Azure AI, so it's definitely tied in heavily with Microsoft products. As you're probably aware, Microsoft has been sort of ahead of the game when it comes to your major software companies and really branding themselves based off this sort of new emerging trends with AI. Obviously, AI has been around for a long time. If you remember, 2 or 3 years ago, when we had some of our first webinars with the Chat GPT sort of aspect really coming out. If you think about the little clipboard that used to be inside of Microsoft called Clippy, so that was sometime in late 90s, early 2000s, that was theoretically AI. So AI has been around for a while, but obviously ChatGPT and others have just brought it out to the forefront again on a whole new level. And Microsoft, as a larger software company, obviously they have um, taken that and just run with it in a lot more ways than other companies have. So Anthology has pretty much partnered with them and a lot of the Microsoft products and built this AI design assistant based upon their Azure AI programs and how they can just sort of take information and build new trends and analysis off of that. Specifically with the AI design assistant in Blackboard, it is contained within Blackboard. So, which means any of the information that is going to be generated from the content is going to be maintained inside of your Blackboard course. It's not like the information is pulling from other Blackboard courses or other instructors. Other instructors are not pulling any information from your course to generate those materials. So it's all contained within the courses. It's all contained right there in Blackboard. Therefore, nothing is being reported back to Microsoft. Again, going back to that AI principle, everything falls in line with privacy and data integrity. Content is not public. So I do want to make sure everyone is aware of that because I know that has been on the forefront of a lot of folks' minds, just trying to make sure that their information is not being put out there publicly. They're not having to send anything back to all these companies that are just pulling from a large repository of data from the different courses across the board. So it is true AI generated. It is not public content. It is not reporting anything back to Microsoft from that standpoint. So as you use it, you're using it still on your own. You're able to review it and use it as you choose, and then provide your information from students. So again, you're ultimately the driving force behind what is used. So again, kind of what's the purpose of it? Again, as an instructor, you're in control. It's to help you simplify your building process. There's a lot of different features that are part of it, whether it is helping you creating your learning modules and just getting an overall structure of your course, whether it's going into discussions. It's a way to just kind of help you scaffold the design process as you are building your courses and as you are building your content, kind of looking at it as a granular approach to different ways to build, kind of step by step. It's not a way to just go in and build one course with the click of a button. It's going to give you an approach where you have to kind of take step by step in order to build, but it does save you that time and that it's giving you those ideas. It's giving you information that can help you just kind of move further with your content and all the information that you have. And ultimately, again, you're the driving force. You're still in control to determine what you want to provide to your students. So what can it do? Well, first off, course structure suggestions. So if you're thinking about, an 8-week course or 10-week course or 16-week, whatever the duration may be, you can have it build out, sort of a structure for you and think about your different topics and your modules just to kind of give you an idea as to what will be brought there. Discussion generation, so it can help you create your discussion prompts. We know that we want to find a way to help students engage in online courses. We want them to engage with one another, collaborate with one another, But we often know that sometimes when we post those discussion prompts out there, the questions are very limited and students just don't really get into them. So it's going to help us generate discussion prompts that may be more relevant to, current events or relevant to ways that they can really think critically about the responses and really engage in the discussions a lot more so than just your typical yes, I agree or no, I don't agree, something along those lines. You can create journals, assignment prompts. So if you've got different pieces of content or different materials where you want to create an assignment, you want students to do something for it, but you're just not quite sure how to word it or what expectations you want to provide, it can help create those for you. You can it also goes into test questions, creating question banks. And then ultimately, you can create images as well to kind of help give you that visual element as you're going through and as you're building your content, just to, again, supplement the material that you already have inside of your courses. Of course, as it is generating these items, as Blackboard in general is accessible, it does take accessibility in mind. So, of course, when you're thinking about images, it does mark them as decorative. Because they're ultimately not going to be true instructional images. So you don't have to worry about that. And obviously, when you're looking at your assignments and your questions and things like that, it is going to be text-based. That way you don't have to worry about the accessibility aspect of those as well. So with that, let's take a look. As I mentioned before, most of you know me. I'd rather just dig into a course and show you something versus showing you a bunch of PowerPoint slides all day. So this is a course that's just a development shell that I've been working on just kind of over time. I've built some different things out here. What I want to do is just show you kind of from start to finish a lot of the AI design assistant pieces and what it can do for you. So the way to find the AI design assistant is you will see, in this case, it's going to say auto generate modules, but look for this little star icon here throughout your course. So if you see something that's got these two little stars or arrows, I'm not really sure exactly what they are, but if you look for this little icon, and then you'll see the option next to it, that's basically indicating that it's something that the AI design assistant will help you in creating. What it's going to do is it is going to pull from text or items or even your course title that you already have inside of the course, some content that you already have, and it's going to just kind of help generate it from there based off of different pieces that you're going to add. So the first thing to think about is building your structure. So in this case, I do have some learning modules here. These were actually built based off the AI design assistant. So in this case, I put in a couple of descriptors in the design assistant, told it this was a programming course. And you can see that it started to build modules just kind of based off of those elements. So how did I do that? I hit the plus button. I went to that auto generate modules. Now, I will say, as you start to create things, you will see this icon come up here quite a bit that says generating. It does take a little bit of time because obviously it is really creating the aspect. It's creating different pieces of your course. So you can see that it took, items and text that were already inside of my course and started to build additional modules and details based off of what was there. In this case, I didn't have to add any keywords or any description to the AI design assistant. It already took from the information that was there. But let's say that I wanted to kind of narrow down the focus even more. I could specifically add more descriptions here. I could say marketing. I could say, legal environment. I can add in AI. You can add in all sorts of information to a description here. And then as you start to change these settings, simply hit generate again, and it's going to start to regenerate. Now, again, it may not pull exactly what you're looking for, but at least kind of get you started on different aspects. And keeping in mind that whatever the titles and descriptions are that this creates, you do have full capabilities to go in and edit those. So let's say if you like the titles of the modules, but you don't like the descriptions, you can go in and change those after the fact. So title prefix, this is sort of the next option here. Let's say if you like to call your learning modules or your different areas you want to go by topic or unit, you can also tell it what prefix you prefer to use. And then of course, hit that generate button again, and it's going to regenerate those modules one more time, and it's going to include those prefixes with those learning modules. So you can see now I have unit 1, unit 2, and so forth. You notice the images here in the learning modules as well. You have the option to either include them or not include them. I'm just going to include them here just for the purposes of the demonstration, but obviously that is entirely up to you. Complexity, that just goes a little bit more into kind of, I guess I'll say, your rigor of, what you want to include in the modules that it's creating, kind of how complex you want them to be. So you, of course, got just a bar here that you can kind of move that up and down. And then again, as you change these settings here, just simply hit the generate button, and it's going to start to generate those modules even more. Someone have a question? Okay. The next piece is number of learning modules. Now, from a technology standpoint, particularly if you are starting scratch in a course, even if you don't want to use the titles and descriptions that the AI generated come up with, to save you time as far as just creating your learning modules, this is a neat little option here, because you can basically just have it create them for you, and then you can go in and change the titles and change the descriptions entirely later on.
What's up?
So let's see, we can mute mics if you don't have a question. So let's say if you've got a blank course and you're just creating your information, again, you can tell it how many modules you want to create, and just save you time just by creating those containers for you. So versus you having to go in and say, create learning module, and then go in and add your information, it builds it for you, and then you just go in and change it to whatever the title you want to be. So I'm going to hit generate one more time. So I want to tell it that I want to create. I'm just going to go with 4 modules here for the sake of this demo. Again, I'm going to hit generate, and you'll see it's going to regenerate those one more time. And then when I am ready to add those to my course, basically place a check in the box next to the ones you want to add. Now, you'll see here I do have to check each one. There's not a way for me to check all and immediately add them all at once. The reason for that is going back to the idea that you are ultimately still the designer of your course. And because this is AI generated, you still want to go in and check the information. So you want to pretty much review it for accuracy. Just like it mentions here at this top, this little banner that says it was auto-generated, needs to be checked for accuracy and bias. So at the end of the day, AI is really good. It's definitely made a lot of improvements, but it's still not 100% where it needs to be. So that's why you will very rarely, with the AI design assistant, you will not see anything that says like select all when you're building those modules, because it really wants you to go back in and check the details there before you really start to add. And then so we'll select the ones that we want, and we will hit add forward to course. And there you go. So it created those modules based upon the settings that you have. It automatically keeps them hidden from students, which is sort of a standard for anything within Blackboard Ultra. As you're adding items, by default, items are going to be hidden. And then, of course, you can go back in and change that availability when you're ready for those to be available to students. The modules themselves are blank. So at this point, the AI Design Assistant does not place any content in those modules. It is basically just that placeholder to help you out. Because again, at the end of the day, it's not going to create a full course for you. You're not going to see a full course with modules plus content plus assessments and things along those lines. It's just more so giving you some ideas to really help start to structure and to build out some of your courses and break into your assessments versus your actual like textbook related content or your supplemental materials. So again, you can see that it created, in this case, we called them units. It gave them the title, but it added them here to the course. And then again, if you're ready to use those, if you want to edit, simply select the ellipsis and hit edit. And then you can see you can change the title. You can change the description that shows with the modules. You can also change the image if you prefer. Again, it is automatically going to be marked as decorative. That way it meets those accessibility guidelines. It's basically saving you a step from having to do so, because this is not a true instructional image. It's just more as a visual element. So that's one of the first steps of doing the design assistant. And I forgot one step. I'm gonna go back to it real quick just to show you. This is new as of, I believe, last month. So if you already have some content items in your course and you wanted to try and build some of those learning modules around those items, you can hit this select course items option, and it will allow you to basically pull different pieces of content that you may already have in your course, and it will help generate those modules based around that content item. So in this case, I'll just take a couple of different pieces I have here. We'll select them and I'll hit generate again. And it's going to basically, it's reading these items that I have, the text that is there, and it's going to start to generate those modules based upon that information. So you'll see that module was a little bit more into kind of emerging trends in business, more things related to technology. So therefore the modules were completely different than what it was creating last time when I put in information here in the description. And I'll just discard and close these this time. So that's one of the first steps it can help you do. Again, it can definitely go into the AI generated image aspect as well. So in this case, I'm just going to pull up this first module here. I'm going to click the image option. And as an image source, obviously you can create your own. You can find ones on the web that you want to share in your course. We do also have the stock images from Unsplash. That is a newer feature to Blackboard in the past year, where it ties into Unsplash basically for free online images that you want to use, open source images you can use, but you can also select this generate images option. Give it a description. In this case, see this this image or this lesson is about marketing. So you can say, you know, marketing, or you can give it all these details that you want, whatever works best for you. It will start to pull different AI images up. You can change this again, hit generate. Again, every time you hit this generate button, it's pretty much just going to refresh and do something different with whether it's your modules, your images, whatever you want it to do. Again, always check images, always check information, because if you notice this image here, it's not quite spelled like it should be. So that's why I was mentioned earlier, you know, AI is not where it needs to be, but it has definitely improved. But anytime you're using the AI design assistant, just make sure to check behind you. And I'm laughing at this image because I'm also thinking about our faculty PD day and our keynote speaker that day and some of the images that she brought up as well. Again, they're not always accurate, so please check, but it does give you an option of changing the image if you would like. And then, of course, just from a Blackboard perspective, you can change the zoom with any images that you're adding and hit save, and you'll see that it is going to change the image that was there as far as the learning module aspect. So that's the learning modules and a little bit about the images. So next up, I'm going to go to create, and I'm going to start with an assignment. So I'm just going to create an assignment here. I'm just going to call it module 1 assignment. So again, you've got your design assistant icon here. I'll call it a star. Not really sure what the little icon is, but you see it says auto generate assignment. So I'm going to hit this button to show you what it does for the assignment. You'll see this looks very similar to what we just saw with the modules, but you can add a description here. So maybe an idea of what what you want students to do, but you're just not quite sure. You can tie in some different details here. You can select course items again. So maybe you have a course document already built. Maybe you have a content item that's already got some information based off of it. You can select those course items. Desired cognitive level, it's going to be random by default, but of course you can change this as well. So maybe you want students to apply something or evaluate. Maybe you want them to be creative. You can change the cognitive level of the assignment to whatever you desire for your course. And again, you can change the complexity of it. Do you want it less complex? Do you want it to be a little more in depth? Do you want it to generate an assignment title for you? Like in this case, I put my assignment title as Module 1 assignment, but maybe you want it to create one for you. And then hit generate. Again, anytime you change a setting, just hit that generate button again, and it's going to automatically start to repopulate those so that you can see them. It can take a little bit of time. So if it's taking a couple seconds, that's okay. It's kind of working behind the scenes. But you can see now, so it provided the title, and then it provides a description of what the assignment is. And in this case, we put the cognitive level as create. So it add a little statement at the end to tell students to be creative and think outside the box. When you are ready to select one of those assignments, simply use the radio button to basically check next to it, and then you're going to hit add. And you see that it took the title of the assignment, it placed it here, it added your text content to the assignment. Now you can go in, you can add more text if you'd like. You can also select the ellipsis here and hit edit. I strongly recommend, again, going through and editing, adding any more details, however you want to do so for your students. But again, just checking behind it to make sure it is what you want, and adding any further details there. Then, of course, you can see the same thing with your assignments panel on the right-hand side. You can change your due date, your categories, your grading, and so forth. So that's what it can do as far as creating an assignment. And of course, if you want to go back into it, you can always hit the AI Design Assistant button one more time, and it will take you back into the AI Design Assistant tool, where it will start to generate more assessment pieces based upon the information that you provide there. So once you have your assignment created, what's the next thing you typically do? You want to have a rubric based off of that assignment. For me personally, I like the rubrics aspect because it's just a time saver as far as creating those, as far as adding the different columns and rows with the rubric. Just like it does with the assignments and modules, you still want to check behind it. It's not always going to be accurate, but it does do a pretty decent job, in my opinion. So when you're ready to create the rubric, so I've got an assignment here. I'm going to go into my assignment settings. I'm going to go down towards the rubric option. We'll hit add grading rubric. So I've got a couple of rubrics that I've built here. So obviously you can add one of those that you've already created, or you can hit this generate button. So we hit the generate button. You'll see again, the panel on the left looks very similar to what you've seen previously. You can add a description of the rubric, kind of details that you want based off of it. It's already going to look at the assignment details in general and start to create something. And you can see it's going to add your criteria. It's going to add based upon the details inside of the assignment. It allows you to change the complexity based on however you want that to be. Maybe you want to have less columns in the rubric, less rows, so you don't want as detailed of a rubric. You can change those options along the way. Maybe you're a points-based person versus percentage. You have the option to change that as well. And then again, as you've changed your settings here, hit the generate button, and it's going to start to auto-generate that for you based upon the settings that you selected inside of the design assistant. So we'll let this populate real quick, hopefully to come up soon. So now we have it here. And once it's here, again, auto-generated, check it for accuracy, but hit the continue button. And then this is where you can go in and make any appropriate edits if you'd like to change the headings or the criteria. Maybe you want to go in and change some of the percentages here. For instance, with this assignment, maybe you wanted the business model aspect to count a little bit more than target audience and so forth. You can go in and change the different percentages that you have for this rubric. Of course, you can also change the rubric type and so forth. By default, it is going to call this generated rubric, and it's going to give it the when it was generated. Obviously, you can change that as well, so you can kind of help you in recognizing which assignment this rubric was created for. And then when you have it like you want it, you're ready to basically attach it to the assignment. You'll hit the save button, and you'll see that it's going to be created there. So generated rubric, let's go ahead and change the name, and we will hit add. And that's taking you back to the assignment settings. We'll hit save. So now you have an AI generated assignment along with that AI generated rubric. From the student perspective, they will see the title that says generated rubric, but to them, it doesn't necessarily mean much. But there's nothing in the assignment that lets the students know this was AI generated in any way. So there's nothing that a student can really see. So they wouldn't have a clue that this is done in AI. They would still think it's your assignment, your rubric, your details, information from there. That was one question that I had a couple days ago from a faculty member. So again, from a student perspective, they wouldn't know that this was generated. So again, that goes into the assignment, that goes into the rubric aspect that, from my perspective, I think the rubric piece is probably one of the better ones. I think it's definitely going to be a time saver. But that's, definitely some of the features that you have there with the design assistant. So the next piece I'll show you, so I'm going to hit the plus button, we'll hit create, and we'll go down to test. So in this case, we'll look at the test aspect. I'll just call it, again, I'll just call it module 1. I will give it a title. I'm going to hit the plus button here, and I'm going to hit auto generate question. And you'll see that it's going to start to generate questions, again, based upon the information that is provided inside of the course. You can, again, this looks very similar to what you've seen previously. You can add a description, you can add objectives, you can select course items that you want it to pull from. So maybe you've already have some content there, whether it's, just a different Ultra document, maybe some text you already have. You can hit select course items and pull from those items. So in this case, I will go to, we'll go again to this module 3. We'll pull some of the materials again. And again, as you change selections here, it does not automatically generate new ones. You have to hit this generate button, and it will start to kind of recreate those based upon the new settings that you selected. So it's going to start to generate that. Question type, you can narrow down to whether you want essay, fill in the blank, matching, multiple choice, and true false. So if you know that you only want multiple choice, or you only want true false, you can make those selections there. If you do inspire me, it's going to do random. So it's just going to pull a number randomly. And it's just going to pull different ways. It's going to do just all sorts of, just kind of differentiate, just to give you some ideas as to what it can pull. You'll see complexity again. You can tell it whether you want lower complexity or higher. And the number of questions, you can tell it number of questions that you want. It will pull up to 10 questions. In this case, I'll just do 5. And then again, we'll hit generate. And it's going to start to generate those questions again for you. The good news is with this, you can generate, 5 to 10 questions and then maybe add those. But if you want to come back in and add more, you can regenerate again and just add those questions later. So it gives you that opportunity to pull from those. So we're going to start, I'll just kind of select these questions here. When you're ready to add them to the test, simply place a check in the box next to those. Again, I know the first thing we think about is, wait a minute, why is there not a select all option? Well, it does go back into that Anthology and Blackboard. They want to make sure you are checking for the accuracy and biases that are still showcased sometimes with AI. So it does more of that scaffolding and granular aspects than it does allow you that select all, because it is kind of forcing you to review those before you're really adding those into your assessments. So now hit add 5 to assessment, and you'll see it's going to add those questions there to your test. You'll see this test looks just like it would if you had created the questions yourself. You can go in and change the test settings, and you can kind of look at the different content that is there, and just kind of help you generate it from that aspect. Questions: if I have a soft-taught lesson, will it pull content from that? It may look at the content, so it may look at some of the items, but I doubt it would go really in depth with that. It's more it wants to look more as to what's specifically already in Blackboard directly. So if you titled it, whatever the content is, it might pull from that. I would say down the road, they may have a little bit more where it could pull more from kind of the external sources. But right now, it's going to really focus more so off what's in Blackboard directly. It's worth a shot, though. I mean, it's definitely worth a shot seeing if it will pull and how it pulls it. Just as I imagine everyone's used, Chat GPT or Cactus AI or any of those before, anytime you hit those generate buttons or refresh buttons, it looks like it could be pulling from something completely different. So just kind of always, test it out and always see what's there, see how it's worded. And whatever it does pull, just always check it out to make sure it's accurate based upon the information that you want to provide to students. So I've got my questions here. I've got the 4 different questions again, so it pulls them directly into the assessment, saving you time from having to set them up that way. And again, you go in and change your test settings, however you want to set those up, and you now have a test that has been created for your students. So again, it's just another way to kind of save you time as to how you want to think about your assessments, and just different things to consider when building out your courses. One thing to think about with this is maybe if the questions don't directly align with your content like you want them to, maybe use these as self-assessments, or just kind of give an opportunity for students to have these as an optional piece, just a way for them to think a little bit further about the material. So maybe not necessarily a graded aspect, but just something that they could use to just kind of enhance the module that they're learning at the time. So that's the aspect of using a test. So the next thing to think about is you can also use it to create discussions, and you can also do it with journals as well. But we'll showcase discussions a little bit. Again, I'll just call it module 1 just for time purposes. You see you've got the auto generate option again. So we'll hit auto generate discussion. Same feature. I know it seems like, we've got the same feature back and forth, but that's pretty much just to make it easier for you as you're using it. And you'll see it's going to do the same thing. It will pop up, add in your description, adding just whatever sort of content you're looking for. Maybe you already have an idea of what you want it to do. You can select your course items. The cognitive level, again, goes to apply, analyze, evaluate, or create, just based off of how detailed you want a discussion topic to be. Choose whether you want it to generate your discussion title or not, and then simply hit generate. So again, as you change the different settings here, just hit that generate button, and it's basically going to refresh those based off the settings that you provide. We'll give it a second here. So there we go. So it's got different prompt levels here. So this one is an evaluate. You've got analyze. You've got apply. You can choose, whichever one that you want. I'm just going to select this one here in the middle. We'll hit add, and you'll see it adds the text directly to the discussion. And of course, you can go in, you can change the text, you can add to it. You can go in and format the text in different ways if you want to. When you've got it like you want it, hit save. And in this case, this discussion is automatically a new discussion, so it's not set as a graded discussion. But obviously, I still have the opportunity to go into those discussion settings. And then I can either post first, I can make it a graded discussion. And then even with this discussion topic that was created, I do have the option now of also adding a rubric to that discussion. So just like I did with the assignment, I had the AI generated assignment. I was able to develop the rubric based upon that generated assignment. I can do the same thing with the discussion. So I can generate a discussion topic. I can add that grading rubric to it based upon that topic, ultimately saving you a little bit of time. So again, instead of you having to really think about what are your full details of a discussion or assignment, or what are the full details of the rubric going to be, it's at least giving you a little bit of those placeholders to really think about some of the aspects and from the details that you want to include. So it's not going to create everything for you completely, but it does get you going and get you thinking about some aspects that you can include inside of the items. So everything it creates is entirely editable. So whether it's an assignment, whether it's a discussion, whether it's a rubric, whether it's a journal, whatever it is going to allow you to make the appropriate edits to fit your course. And from a student perspective, it is an authentic assessment. It is not one that they can go and copy and paste it directly online and find that someone might have had that discussion topic exactly before. Now, obviously, they could find something similar, but they're never going to be able to find that exact same discussion topic or assignment online. So they're creating those authentic assessments. They're making it editable, and they really want you to edit. Again, just always check behind it for accuracy to make sure it is what you want it, make sure it fits along within your course content, and just help you kind of really start to scaffold and build your structure and build your courses, and just get you going with taking a look at your courses in general and just kind of updating those and improving your different assessments, discussions, and things of that nature. So in this case, when I've got the discussion here, again, I'm ready to hit save. I now have my discussion topic created. And again, I can go back into this auto generate discussion area again. If I didn't like it, maybe I wanted to make some changes to it, I want to try again. And you'll see this panel looks very similar to all the other features that you were able to do, and just kind of change your settings and regenerate those discussions as you see fit. So in this case, I'll just select another one just to kind of show you. We'll hit add. So you see what it did was it added this one as well, this topic again. So it's allowing you to kind of just create the other opportunity. So I can now either delete this text, maybe want to combine them together, but it's giving you that option to add that information as well to your discussion. And of course, whenever you're ready, hit save. And now you have the discussion topic here. Again, and this is not necessarily specific to the design assistant, but as items are built by default, they are hidden from students. So of course, when you're ready to make those available, simply click where it says hidden, change that to visible, and then students can now see that here inside of the module. And of course, they can also see that inside of the discussions area as well. Let's see, this is the one that was created. So that's kind of a quick overview of the AI design assistant. Again, first thing it will do is helping you create that structure with your modules. And then it really goes into your assessment. So an assignment, test, discussions, rubrics for those to really help you assess your students. It goes into images as well, creating those AI generated images. And of course, you can also look at the journals aspect as well. You go into the journals, you'll see it looks exactly the same and how it creates those. Ultimately, again, it is pulling from what's in Blackboard. It's pulling from material that is pretty much already existing in your course and your course title, any descriptions that you have. And the material, again, is not public. So you're not having to worry about you creating an assignment and then another person being able to see that exact same assignment. So it is really using the AI technologies to just pull that information together and really create something based upon what it sees inside of the course. So now that we've taken a look at it, again, I'll kind of go back to this page. So kind of the overall of what it can do. The modules, discussions, journals, rubrics, you're creating your questions for your test, your question banks, and then those images there. I'll post this resource here in the chat. This is directly from, hopefully let me paste it. This is directly from the Blackboard help site. And wow, that pasted really big. Sorry about that. But that is the direct page from the Blackboard help site, which has pretty much all of the AI design assistant options here, as well as a lot of videos. So if you're just not quite sure of some of the steps, you can take a look at the videos. It walks you through those different settings and how you can use the AI design assistant in your courses and just auto-generate a lot of those features there. You'll see again what I mentioned earlier with the AI principles. Blackboard Anthology do want to just make sure that everyone is aware that that's kind of where they're coming from with AI, because we know there's still a lot of questions that go into the authenticity of AI and what it does. So you'll see a lot of these pages here as well. So that's definitely a good resource if you just want to bookmark that at any point, if you just want to go back and kind of see, what's available and what you can do with the AI design assistant inside of your courses. So with that, does anybody have any questions? Has anyone used it yet, or maybe haven't used it, but are just excited to jump in? Feel free to use your microphone if you have any questions or anything.
Is it available in the old Blackboard, like the summer classes?
It is not available in Blackboard Original, so you definitely want to use it in any of your Ultra courses.
And my second question is, if a lot of my courses are course copy, how would you suggest, like, I like the pictures and would you use it mainly for enhancement, or what do you suggest if, you're kind of course copying information from some stuff?
Yeah, I mean, if you've already got materials in your course, it will definitely be used for enhancement. What I recommend, so if you've already got a course copy there and you've already got your assignments, so let's say you've got a course copy, your course is done, you've got all your assessments there, all your assignments, but you just want to try it out and see if you can find something different. I would just go to the bottom of your course and I would create a folder, or maybe just a learning module. And I would just create some assignments there. That way they're not in your modules that you've already created, but it just gives you an opportunity to kind of start building and playing around with it. And then as you create one, if you like it, then just click it and drag it up to whichever module you want it to go into. Again, that way, since you've already got a course that's already set up, you're not having to worry about, changing an assignment that's already created and then going back and reverting back to it. Just giving you an opportunity to kind of look at some of the new stuff and say, oh, I like this one a little bit better. Then you can just, make some edits and move it up to where you want it to be. And obviously, if you have a blank course, then jump into it, creating the modules. Couple of the courses that I've created over the past, 3 or 4 months that we'll start to use in the fall semester. I started with this simply by building out that structure, just because in my mind, if let's say this was a blank course, if I'm going to create modules, I have to go to plus, create, learning module, add your title, add your description, add your image, save. And if I'm doing that for a 16-week course, seems to be a lot of time. Whereas I can hit plus, auto generate, I can tell it 16 modules, generate. It seems to be less clicks to build those modules, build those containers than it was for me going through and continuously hitting plus, create, learning module, adding the details from there. So even if I didn't use the titles and descriptions that it came up with, it saved me time in just building those. Rubrics are the same way. Rubrics take time to build. Not only do they take time for you to think about what levels you want and what sort of just kind of assessments you want and how you want it set up, it ultimately does take time to go in and create the rubric inside of Blackboard and add your text to each of those areas. So it at least saves some time. So if you know you want a rubric and you want 4 rows and 4 columns, use the generator to build it out for you, just kind of build that framework and then adding in your information from that standpoint. So even from a tech perspective, without using the content that it generates, to me, it just saves time and just sort of some of that creation in general. All right, any other questions? I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything in the chat. If I am missing any questions, feel free to just jump back in and I can help you out.
I just have one more question. Sorry to be that annoying person that everyone's done and I have questions, but just real
You're fine.
briefly, like if you're working in Blackboard Ultra to make an assignment, and I'm the type of person that likes everything in a Word document,
Mhm.
is it okay to like then, am I going backwards or is there a better way if I create the assignment in Blackboard, copy and paste it into a Word document, or is there another AI that's more efficient?
So I'm not, so when you, let me get it straight. So when you're adding, you create an assignment in Blackboard and you just attach a Word document for, and you want students to basically download the Word document with the instructions. Is that what you're doing?
Yep.
I mean, me personally, from a student perspective, I think it's easier from their standpoint if they see the instructions directly here in Blackboard versus the Word document, because it saves them the step. They don't have to download the Word document. So I would actually just consider putting your instructions directly inside of Blackboard for your assignment. Like, let me show you. I think I've got some assignments here. Okay, so this is one. Yeah, we're talking about AI. This module is about understanding AI in business. You'll see I've got an assignment here, and I place the instructions directly here inside of Blackboard. Now, this is one that wasn't AI generated. But you can see that it's right here in Blackboard. From a student perspective, there's nothing else that they have to download. Now, there are some instances where in assignments you may have, maybe you have an article that you want them to read, or you have some data that you want them to analyze that goes along with the assignment. Obviously, that's going to be beneficial to have as an attachment. But just for your basic or your base instructions that you want to provide to students, I recommend just placing those directly inside of Blackboard anyway, because when a student pulls up this page, they'll see the details there. They can review them and think about them. They don't have to worry about that extra step of downloading that document to view it. Also, considering the fact that as much as we don't want them to, we know that a significant number of students are ultimately looking at assignments on their mobile devices. And it is, while you can view and download documents and PDFs and things like that on a mobile device, those are much less user friendly as far as viewing them with documents. So I would recommend just placing your text directly in the assignment there in Blackboard. So hopefully that helps. And if you got any other, questions or just different ways you'll look at that, we can definitely, talk about. Just feel free to reach out. We can kind of look at that and see, what worked best for you and your classes individually. Any other questions? I don't see any. So, all right, I'm gonna thank you all for your time. I'll stick on a few minutes in case anybody does have any questions. But I appreciate you joining in, and hopefully you got some good insight from using the AI design assistant. And as always, if you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you.